Tulsi Gabbard sets the record straight on how feminists and Democrats are anti-woman. Welcome to John Mike Keene. We're going to start on this great tweet headline. I think it's over at Breitbart. Here's Trump responding to Mark Cuban, quote, "All strong women should be very angry about this weak man's statement. More fallout for Mark Cuban."
This week marks a huge mistake for Donald Trump in a community within the Latino world that he desperately needs.
Yeah,
Would you say that as far as surrogates go this week, it was a bigger problem for a comedian that most people have never heard of? Or was it a bigger problem for Joe Biden as a surrogate to call half the country garbage? Or even a bigger problem today for Mark Cuban to insult women voters who were thinking of voting Republican? Of those three surrogate issues, which would you say, Biden and Cuban, or this guy, I can't even remember his name?
That's Scott Jennings on CNN blowing away ex-New York Mayor Bill de Blasio, who is coming out in defense of Biden, calling half of America human garbage. This is where the argument is, guys.
The difference in that is the reaction to it. I see your point, Scott, and we obviously talked about Biden's remark here. We're going to talk about Mark Cuban's comment in a moment. But Biden came out immediately to clarify that. Mark Cuban came out today to talk about his. Donald Trump has just claimed he didn't know who the comedian was.
That's CNN weighing in with their opinion on the spin. This is not news. This is opinion. Her defense is that Biden came out right away with a statement, and Mark Cuban came out right away with a statement, and Trump did not come out right away with a statement.
I'm sure he doesn't, A, and B, the campaign had a statement out before Donald Trump ever even took the stage. They dealt with it immediately. No, that statement came out after the rally was over. I know, because I was at Madison Square Garden.
Remember, Biden's statement came out at 11 o'clock at night. There's no way he was awake for that. That would have been written by Karine Jean-Pierre. So we never even heard from Biden in his own words. That's the biggest difference to me.
Campaign is not the candidate.
The Trump campaign is not the same thing as Trump coming out and saying those words, but I'm saying there's no way Joe Biden wrote that tweet that clarified what he said about the human garbage statement at 11 o'clock at night. So with Trump, the campaign isn't the candidate, but with Biden, the president isn't even the president.
The candidate could have persuaded and spoken against this, and he has not.
Then you must agree that it's been kind of weird for the Kamala Harris's campaign through anonymous statements from staffers to change all of her positions on every issue then?
Wait, Scott, just come back to this.
You
had a guy on the stage at Madison Square Garden, the most prominent arena in the country.
That's a great argument. He's trying to set up a standard that if they're saying that the campaign is not the candidate, then you have to say that about Kamala Harris when the campaign comes out and clarifies all of the stupid, wrong positions she has.
Insult the Puerto Rican people.
Joe Biden insulted half the country. Mark Cuban insulted half.
That's a great
the other half
redirection. I want to ask you this.
Are there more Puerto Ricans or more women?
Joe Biden's also not running.
People.
Now, de Blasio says it's a redirection, that Scott Jennings is saying what the candidate said and insulting half of the country. He's only saying if insulting the Puerto Ricans as a mass is a standard, then how about insulting Mark Cuban, insulting women, which is half of the mass of America, and Trump voters, that is half of the mass of America. He's asking, does Bill de Blasio appreciate the size of the people offended? Scott Jennings is only asking Bill de Blasio to be consistent in a standard.
Number one, this pre-program was not helpful. I've said that numerous times. Number two, the fact that you all want to turn this campaign into something about an idiot comedian and want to ignore the clear bumbling stupidity of the president and Mark Cuban, to me, speaks volumes.
It does speak volumes. That's the only argument they have, though. They can't lay down a standard. They have to make it about blow up what a comedian said without Trump's knowledge, and then reduce what Biden, the president, the sitting president of the United States, said, and Mark Cuban, who I think there's less pressure on him because he's just a surrogate. He's just a guy, giving his opinion. I have less trouble with what he said about women than I do with what Biden said as the sitting president.
Trump did not dissuade these comments. Why he didn't step aside from them, why he didn't condemn them himself, since it was somebody he platformed.
It was somebody that he platformed, a comedian, yeah, and everyone condemns it. Now, here's Tulsi Gabbard with the strong women, Riley Gaines.
Tulsi, I wanted to ask you, you've been in this fight much longer than myself. I mean, pretty broadly, how did we get here?
Thank you, Riley. First of all, for everyone here, everyone watching the live stream at home, I just want to ask you to join me in just giving great kudos and applause. This is Riley Gaines and Sia Li'ili'i, two collegiate athletes who have benefited from over 5 decades of Title IX, and two courageous leaders who are standing up for women and girls in sports and fairness and opportunity.
In case you didn't notice it, this is what strong people do. Talk about strong, intelligent people. Sia Li'ili'i and Riley Gaines give praise to Tulsi Gabbard. And Tulsi Gabbard doesn't say thank you. She turns around and gives praise to them on her stage. That's what strong people do. This is a sign of strength.
You guys are really the shining example of how we fix what is so broken. When I was in Congress, I introduced legislation, it was bipartisan legislation, called the Protect Women Sports Act, because we saw what was already starting to happen at that time. This was already happening to you, Riley Gaines, back then. But we saw how the intent of Title IX was already being destroyed, how those who claim to stand up for women and girls, those who claim to be feminists, those who claim to be standing for equality, all of a sudden, when it came to having biological males compete against women and girls in sports, they were silent.
This is because Title IX was launched by feminists or supported by feminists that were first wave, maybe even second wave. We're on the fourth wave of feminism, which no longer believes that there are immovable traits in a woman, that they believe that they're all fungible and they all can be redefined. So this is a difference in new feminism, which has been made leftist and Marxist, versus old feminism that was rooted in a desire for equality, to have women be able to participate in sports. So the new feminists destroyed what the old feminists pulled off.
So our legislation was very simple. It was one page that added the word biological in front of the word sex to make very clear this was the intent of those who passed this historic legislation, and it's up to us to protect it. We were excoriated for introducing this legislation. We were smeared and called all of these different names for having the audacity to stand up for the rights of women like Riley and Sia. And I just want to say, it's been almost 5 years, I think, since we introduced that legislation. And it is so critical that we are inspired by the example of these brave young women here, because that's how we have to fix what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have destroyed.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are running on the anti-woman platform. Now, they claim Republicans are anti-women because of the you-know-what issue. There's so many more issues that benefit women that Trump represents and is going to help them every day with their economy, paying bills, raising their children, being free. I'm John Mike Keene.